The entrepreneurship story largely in our country has been hijacked by three things: the Western money, the English media, and the IIT phenomena.
We do not like ourselves to be called as a co-working player or enterprise player or a managed office player. We are actually the Workspace company, which is we are covering to the full stack services. So starting from the spaces to the interiors to the technology to the services, right? So it's a full stack service. It's a holistic approach what we are putting into the real estate. So that approach is so different from any other player in the market. The secondary is for us the employee is the hero of the story. I mean that is very, very important.
We will become Atmanirbhar the day India doesn't require FDI to grow, when we can grow with our own money. And I see that a lot of entrepreneurship story, the startup story is now getting funded by the Indian entrepreneurs and the Indian money.
जब हम स्टार्टअप स्टोरी की बात करते हैं तो हम कंज्यूमर इंटरनेट बहुत सारी विजिबल ब्रांड्स के बारे में बात करते हैं, मगर आज मैं आपको एक स्टार्टअप स्टोरी सुनाने जा रही हूँ जो कि ना कि एक प्रॉफिटेबल हाई इम्पैक्ट बट वेरी वेरी ओरिजिनल इंडिया स्टोरी है, और ऐसे कैटेगरी में है जिसको वी डोंट फाइंड इट ग्लैमरस एंड सेक्सी, बट इन्होंने इतना शानदार इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट किया है, नॉट इन द बिग सिटीज़ बट ऑल्सो इन स्मॉल टाउन्स. एंड एज आई सेड द स्टोरी इज़ ऑल्सो वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग क्योंकि ये एक ऐसे स्पेस में है जो कि टफ है, बट इन्होंने एक प्रॉफिटेबल और ग्रीन सस्टेनेबल बिजनेस बनाया है. Please join me in listening to the IndiQube story, a story which I think all of us in India should follow and genuinely celebrate. Hello Rishi, hello Meghna.
Hi Shradha.
So let's begin. मैंने कहूँगी कि hook, but let's hook the story with what's unique and what's differentiated about IndiQube.
So before I go to the hook of that what built IndiQube, I will highlight some trends, global trends that we are seeing which are happening today. One big shift that is happening across the globe is that work is going where people are. Compared to earlier, people were going where work was. Somebody like me came from a place like Lucknow, 2,000 miles to work in Bangalore. But now we are seeing a lot of companies willing to go to tier 2 towns, and this is a global phenomena that's happening. The other is employees don't want to come back to work. Employers want them to come to work. So as a result, there is a lot of focus. The employees are saying what extra we can do for our employees. Third is the work is no longer, the space is not just about work. It is a lot about collaboration, teamwork, interactions. So that's another thing which is gone beyond what workspaces traditionally used to look at like. The other is, I will say the last but very important is the transition to green. That's happening. So these are the 4 global trends that we see which are disrupting the workspaces and creating a revolution. And then there are some more India specific things which are happening. India is a very large market because we have a big offshore development presence in India of the IT companies, the GCCs. Then we have a very robust startup ecosystem now, and a lot of Indian companies are also growing. So that is very unique to India. So India is the fastest growing commercial real estate market in the world. And then there are a lot of India specific nuances which are there. So against this backdrop is what basically we see that we can create a very large 1.0, a global workspaces company, which is relevant for the emerging markets, Southeast Asia or the Africa or South America kind of places. So that's the hook around which we are looking at building IndiQube.
So differentiation, so I don't know, but I think the major thing is the way we are looking at the whole this sector. It is, I mean, we do not like ourselves to be called as a co-working player or enterprise player or a managed office player. We are actually the Workspace company, which is we are covering to the full stack services. So starting from the spaces to the interiors to the technology to the services, right? So it's a full stack service. It's a holistic approach what we are putting into the real estate. So that approach is so different from any other player in the market. The secondary is for us the employee is the hero of the story. I mean that is very, very important. Regarding, unlike the other services which are more towards the networking or the community, our services are very focused.
Now we are coming up with a health insurance product. Because what we are finding is if you're a small company, the health insurance costs are prohibitive. Plus you are not able to cover a lot of pre-existing disease and all. So anybody who takes a seat at IndiQube will also be offered insurance, not just for themselves but for family. So there's a lot of focus on wellness, and we play an extended role of the HR organization. For example, we have a 52-week calendar where right from your 26th Republic Day, Valentine's Day to Diwali, Dashera, everything is celebrated. So for smaller companies, it makes a lot of difference because they don't have the critical mass. We have the leagues for table tennis, badminton to cricket, all of that, where people from different organizations participate in that. So that basically a lot of focus on wellness, recreation, because the average age of people working today in offices is 24, 25-year-olds. So there's a lot of energy that needs to be channelized very well. So it's a I will say a 360-degree approach, as Meghna said, with a lot of focus on B2B, B2C services. And if you look at our backgrounds, large part of my career or Meghna's career has been into building CareerNet, which is the largest recruitment company in India. So a lot of focus on HR and the talent acquisition has been there. So we exactly understand that what employers and employees are looking for. And build a business right from service levels. This is a services business, this is not a real estate business. So I think that understanding of that nuance, the employee part of it, is a very, very significant differentiator.
And I think that's where lies the success that you've achieved so far, because somewhere जो आपने कहा services mindset, somewhere in our product thinking and product building mindset, what we cannot forget, at the end of the day, any business has to have a service orientation. And IndiQube today is putting services at the center.
Yes, that's true. And as I said, we always say, in our pitch, we are a customer-centric company, not the investor-centric company. So that is the key.
Another thing I will add to that is for us, right from the beginning, less has been more. Try doing more with less. That is a mantra. If you look at sustainability, for example, when we started the business, we were consuming almost 1 unit of power for every 100 square feet of space. Today, we are down to 0.5 units for every 100 square feet of space. So that is quite a shift that we have been able to achieve. It's a combination of using better quality air conditioning systems, IoTs over there, motion sensors, plethora of that, and then optimizing our UPS. Then all that has led to significant saving in the energy. Then you look at water. What crisis Bangalore faced recently. We took an oath that we will reduce our water consumption across buildings by 80 to 90%. And I'm happy to share that we are on track to do that, because most of our buildings are either older buildings or smaller buildings which don't have sewage treatment plants. We are putting up recycling of water plants so that 70-80% of water we are able to recycle. So it is very doable. We are on track. Certain buildings have achieved 70-80% reduction in water consumption.
This is so refreshing to hear, and I have to call out that it's so good to hear businesses and entrepreneurs like you to call this out, that you are very consciously building building green buildings and green workspaces, because India needs it, world needs it, and this is in your design, this is in your thinking, this is in your execution, which is also resulting in cost.
Absolutely. In fact, if you ask me, sustainability is not a pipe dream. Sustainability is serious business. It has excellent return on investment. Unfortunately, because of inertia and lack of awareness, people are not doing it. When we started doing it, a lot of buildings in and around wherever we are doing, they have come forward looking at our model, and we are happy to open source, tell them that how it has worked for us. Same thing in waste management. If you look at like a building which was generating 60-70 kg of waste every day, we are getting one garbage truck coming every day to just pick that up. Now, after putting composters, that truck is only coming once a month. Because they are only coming to collect the plastic and the metal waste. The entire organic waste is getting processed at site. So that's another thing we are doing, where we are ensuring that for all our larger properties, the entire organic waste is processed at site. They should not go to landfill, or any carbon footprint should not happen on that.
Rishi, I want to ask you and Meghna, what I also really respect about the IndiQube story is that you are making the effort, and of course it makes business sense and commercial sense also, is to go to small towns of India, because I always feel that why should privileges and the best infrastructure be available in Delhi, Bombay and Bangalore. So it was very heartening to know you're in Coimbatore, you're in Vijayawada, you're in Kochi, and I think I'm forgetting the names of other 13 or 19 cities.
Madurai and like that, Jaipur.
So tell us about what's different about this India.
So I will say the good part in India is that most of the cities that we are talking, the tier 2s, they happen to be state capitals. And that way they have good social infrastructure, good housing, everything is there. and the amount of money the government has spent on physical connectivity. Today you look at airports, you look at state highways and expressways and all of that. So I think that part has been very well taken care of. And most of these tier 2 cities have good educational basis. What they were lacking was industry and jobs. And as I said that the shift that has happened, that jobs are going where people are, I think that's very heartening. And that has started getting built up. Earlier, it used to be a large company phenomena. A company like TCS you will see, or Infosys will have tier 2 presence. But now with all this accessibility and all that coming in, and people don't minding work happening from anywhere, there are enough security systems now, infrastructure available, because data security was a big concern. I think that has got addressed quite well during COVID. So as a result, a lot of growth is happening. Some tier 2 will do better than others, as happens all the time.
Today when people come to an IndiQube, is there also a sense of pride or a sense of association that, by having my workspace in IndiQube, I'm also contributing to, green environment, or I'm also playing a role? Do you see that behavioral change when people come to you?
IndiQube is actually is an Indian product. It is by Indians and for Indians. As Prime Minister Modi said, right, we have to be Atmanirbhar, right?
Yes.
And this is not a cut, copy, paste version of any Western company. It is not a templatized version of any Western company. It is purely focused on servicing the Indian clients, right? So when we talk about sustainability green, so there are a lot of small steps which we do it, right? On the signs, when a person go to the washroom, there'll be some, little signs which will be put it up to make it green, to use less water, to use the tap water, so subconsciously we would like to believe that our clients, are kind of reading through it, they're absorbing it, and they would think through it eventually, right?
Listening to both of you, I can just see that there's so much of attention to detail, and I can see that you both have put in your heart to it, because
very true.
flower pot tap water.
If you look at, for example, the tissue papers. Now, tissue papers normally used to have white tissue papers. We are now using brown tissue papers, and brown because you don't use bleaching. And they use much lesser water because chlorine is not there. So the amount of pollution that we are doing to water is significantly lesser over there. It doesn't look like white. Initially there was some resistance. Then we highlighted there's a far better tissue paper, the brown ones, and almost 70-80% lesser water they consume, and very little chlorine to bleach them and all.
Even for example, we make those partitions, right, for the soundproofing. So usually people would use that's in this industry practice is to use wool and all, right? But we've used this honeycomb waste material wood structure, which is like the recyclable waste, for that sound system. And by the way, our sound thing is 0.9 NRC, so it is as comparable as compared to any other. But we use those recyclable waste between those gypsum partitions. In fact, we are working with a lot of MNCs, and we give them, these are the kind of sustainable materials which we are using. Like even on the ceiling, we are using those cork material, which is again a waste and recyclable. So those small detailing, definitely, as you rightly said, we make sure that it is taken care of.
It's like both of you are talking as if every place is your house, is your home.
Yeah, you are right, actually. So right on that, because I think for every senior executive or employee, you see they spend a good part of their awake life in offices. So almost 7-8 hours they are spending over there.
If not more.
If not more. So the offices are like their second homes. So they need to be comfortable, they need to be sustainable, and they need to be safe places. Like for example, the amount of CCTV cameras in the common areas and all that we install to ensure that safety at all points, and then business continuity. Today risk mitigation is so important. Like for example, I always say that the biggest risk to any office space today is water. I think offices will close down either because of COVID or water crisis. So it's a business continuity risk. Then the way we build redundancies when it comes to uninterrupted power, internet, all these things is there. Then the fire safety. We are paranoid on safety because that's another big risk all of us carry. So those are the places where there are regular safety audits every month done, business continuity audits we run, because most of the clients that we have are software companies. They run their servers, they're in critical applications where their downtime cannot be even 0.01% over there. So when you have to run those kind of critical applications, the redundancies that you have to build in are a different level. So each and every customer from that perspective is unique.
You know, I'm just listening to both of you, and I'm sure everyone who's listening right now to us would see the passion and see again, I'm saying the attention to detail and how differently you building IndiQube.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the question about you both as entrepreneurs, as founders of IndiQube. And somewhere I know that both of you come from small towns yourselves. You come from middle class India, which understands the value of
Yes.
money and doing things effectively. What makes this combination work?
The combination, the trespassers are not allowed. He will not trespass in my region. I will not. I mean, jokes apart, the thing is, so we have very complementary skills. I think from the energy, the way we are sitting itself, I think anybody can make out, right? So a lot of times what happens, people do not leverage on their differences. You have to dwell and you have to hone your strengths of each other and ignore the weaknesses. I think that so far Touchwood has kind of worked with us. It's like, so he's the calming force, like I'm the more the aggressive force. I kind of force on the top line and he will look at the bottom line, and somewhere we will meet in the middle. Kahin na kahin mil jata, so those kind of things. So I think that is very, very important for any relationship to work, like that complete respect and the trust, and yet you do your own thing and have the empowerment, and then you somewhere meet in between. I think that so far has worked for us.
See, what I would add to that whatever might be the weakness of one founder should not become the weakness of the organization. I think that is very important, and I think between both of us, we bridge that. A lot of times, egos crop in. I think that's a very dangerous thing.
So Rishi, I want to ask, because I hear a lot of founders talk about it, that we trust each other, we don't let our egos come in between. What does that mean actually? क्योंकि ईगो तो दो काम कर रहे हैं तो आएगा ही, एंड जब दो अल्फा पर्सनालिटीज हैं, मतलब यू आर एंटरप्रेन्योर्स बिकॉज यू हैव योर ओन सेंस ऑफ डूइंग थिंग्स. हाउ डू यू इंश्योर ऑन अ डेली बेसिस दैट इट डजंट affect?
So the key thing here is that you have to call spade a spade at the end of the day, and you can't. You may have a different style of working, but that doesn't mean that the other person's style is wrong over there. And all of us manage people. The way I may manage people or Meghna may manage people may differ, but at the end of the day, the outcome has to be one over there. So I think one has to be ready to lose in the process. The other thing as founders we don't understand is that we have very limited critics. The other founders have to be our critics. And as much we may not like the critics, but I think that's a big check and balance. So every feedback that they are giving has to be taken in that spirit. You don't have bosses, so your other founders happen to be your bosses to that extent, who give you the critical feedback. And you can't be doing, look, I said this. Like there will be low moments, you may make mistakes, right? I think when somebody is down and you say, look, I said this.
That's the most hard.
That is the most
yeah,
hard,
that's the waiting below the belt.
Yeah.
So we clearly,
you have to go with the flow. Once
Yes.
the decision is taken, then you just have to
you
go
are
with the
jointly
flow.
accountable for
right.
that decision.
When you're so clear about it, and when you're working to a single goal, I think these are all trivial. And whether we like it or not like it, as long as the work is getting done, success speaks for itself.
No, but it's very important that both of you have addressed this in such a grounded way, because in the last 10-15 years we've seen in the startup ecosystem, most founder relationships, co-founder relationships have not, even if it's a couple relationship or anything, or brothers, it has not survived the test of time. But yours, I see it at a very genuine level, because I've also known both of you, that it thrives. So it's very important that you're calling this out.
And we have to play on our strengths, where some places I am good at, some places she is good at. So we allow the other person to actually take the charge, move. And especially when you happen to be the spouse, a lot of times the male ego in the Indian context, unfortunately, is so weird. I find it very unfortunate that we talk about women empowerment so much, but I don't know how much we have mentally elevated ourselves to manage or handle
You'll get all the hearts from all
Hearts
the women right now.
No, he sent me this.
Including me.
No, he sent me a message which is so right, that, we always train women to be empowered and all, but we're not training the men how to handle the empowered woman.
Yes.
I mean, I think that is equally important. And I was like, yes, you're right. How many men are being
able to
trained?
take
It, and even to get trained and to probably brought up like this, that they can handle the empowered woman.
Because they've not seen it.
Exactly, and that is also an equal important aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
So
talk to us about your profitability, because again, something that we feel very proud of, because you're making the Indian startup story stronger. You should both do a master class on that.
So it's always the growth capital, but EBITDA positive from the beginning. And thanks to WeWork, not much of capital came into the industry any which ways for whatever reasons, right?
Yeah, because you're not a consumer.
Yeah. So and yes, and thanks to the global factors and all, so we had no choice, and that kind of really, in hindsight, it helped us to build it more frugally, to build it on the strong fundamentals, and we are very, with all humility, we're definitely very, very proud for that.
Also, growth at any cost comes at a huge cost. That's I am a believer. So our focus has been that grow in a range-bound manner and be sustainable on the growth. So I think a big factor, which is the ease of doing business, I think has improved significantly thanks to government and thanks to businesses like us. Because of that, today starting businesses or moving offices or having multiple offices has become much easier than it was say 5 or 7 years back.
But there's a lot of respect for what you are doing, because it's so important. And I'm not even talking about just early stage startups, but even for a mid-sized company.
Yeah, definitely.
Why should one invest?
Yeah, look
so
at
much?
a lot of mid-cap companies. Our big growth we are finding is not from just the top 10 IT companies. We are seeing a lot of growth from NASSCOM 200 because most of these companies were lopsided to say either a Pune or a Bangalore or a Noida kind of location before COVID. Now the same company which were even having 5,000 employees, they are realizing that if they are in Bangalore, they need to be in Pune in a bigger way. They need to be in Chennai in a bigger way. So I will say a lot of mid-cap companies, as you rightly highlighted, are growing quite significantly, not just in tier 2, even in other tier 1s.
No, otherwise also the flexibility, the agility of the thing. No, I mean, if you see there's so much of uncertainty in the market, you will not see very deeper, highs or lows and all, right? The graph is very, very short, right? So to understand and to kind of tap those uncertainty in the market, they also don't know whether you'll be 5 today and 10 tomorrow. We do not know. So all that uncertainty, pay as you use, right? You do not want to pay for an extra seat.
Yeah.
So all those things matters, right? And that kind of helps our businesses,
I will give you an example. Another fact that we have to appreciate is that post-COVID, we are seeing excellent traction from Indian businesses. A company like Maruti has taken up space from us in Kochi. A company like Air India has taken a large office space in Chennai. Then you look at a company like TVS, then Mahindra Logistics, Ultratech Cement. Which was not the case. These guys were all used to taking
their
up
own
space.
Infrastructure. And now what is happening, the new trends, what is happening, that they have, for example, 500 people in their company, but they're taking office only for 250. And then they're booking their seat accordingly. So the same infrastructure is being used for 500 people because it's a hybrid model, because every 500 is not coming to the office right now.
Yeah.
So that kind of also helps them to cut down on the cost.
3
3 days work, right?
That,
so they can rotate the employees. So the same infrastructure which is used by 500 people, but it's only a 250-seater office. That is how they're making these kind of decisions.
Do you see this kind of Rishi was talking about Maruti or these large companies also. Do you see a shift also induced by COVID?
So I think there is a lot of acceptance of consumer behavior which has happened post-COVID. A lot of technology has come in, which is allowing people to have personalized experience yet share things.
When you say it's your office, trust me, it is your office. So once you get into your office, it will be your office. Your brand ethos on the wall, wherever you would want to put it, it will be there.
मगर वो दिमाग का विस्तार अब हुआ है.
But it is your office. The whole customization part there, it comes into play, because there's so many MNCs which signs up with us. They cannot say that I'm getting into IndiQube office, so that is definitely not going to work.
Yeah.
They would want their own branding to be there, and that is what we make sure. We make it very, very, in fact, we are more sensitive towards that your branding should reflect, because it's for your employees, it's not for IndiQube employees.
Yeah.
A lot of demands which I get these days is not these days, usually, that they've gone to Manhattan or the mountain views or the Palo Alto of the world. They would see Google and Facebook of the world. They would say, I would want that office to be replicated, but 1/4 or 1/5 of the cost. So say they will, Indians, right? So they will take those pictures. They will, send me those screenshots, pictures and camera. Meghna, could you do that? Could you do that? But yeah, this is the cost I'm talking about.
I also want that expensive wallet, but at a 1/5.
Yeah. So that is how, and that's trust me, I'm not exaggerating. That's a regular phenomena. There's so many companies, they will send me offices space of like the Paris office, or the New York office. I said, can you replicate that? And I was
and
like,
1/5
of the cost. I was like, okay.
I must say that there what we did was we basically came up with a catalog system where we now have more than 7,000-8,000 products which are well catalogued.
Oh,
Yes.
7,000-8,000
products we have
yeah.
catalogued. For example, suppose you say that I want a better quality sofa. Instead of basically suit leather, you want a real leather. So that option is there with you. I want a much better bookshelf over there. So we have a catalog.
So you can choose.
Yes.
So
it's
we
like pizza
have
toppings.
2-3. So we
Wow.
have these 2-3 services, and one is this. What he's talking about is the furniture or the workspace items. So the idea is, as I said, if it's a workspace company, it's a full stack of services. So if, for example, you want to go and have a look at the office
So you need
furniture,
an identity here.
yes, office furniture, office lights, or office couches, where would you go? There's no brand.
Yeah.
You just have probably a chair brand, it's so fragmented, so unorganized. So the whole idea is to make that unorganized to organized, right? So it's one brand, right? So where will you go for this? So we have this catalog where the people choose these designer lights, designer, and sometimes now the line is so blurred between the houses and the offices, the breakout zones, that the founders are actually buying those furnitures for their own home, right? The couches and all those outdoor furnitures, right? I mean, the kind of cost which we are giving it to them, like 9-seater sofa, it's about 2 lakh, which is almost like
So
7
the
lakh.
impact is far more than the workspace.
Yeah, workspace. Yeah, because lines are getting blurred, right?
Yeah.
So the whole approach, the way we're looking at this space is so different from others. You would not hear it from others.
Yeah.
That is what we're trying to say, and that is what puts us apart. A lot of companies have actually taken just the tech. Just the tech stack. So what happens, because our visitor managed, so we have 7-8 modules. One is VMS, which is called Visitor Management System, which is registerless, cash, everything. So you can actually pre-authorize the visitors, to your campuses. You can even order tea, coffee through your app. Through my app, we call it a MyCube app, you'll have 3 options from going point A to point B. And that is just made like a SaaS product. You can actually use that technology can use as a SaaS product. It is like a different architecture altogether. It's not like something just as
It's
an
a multi-tenancy product,
Yeah.
So when you can configure it and you're good to go.
Wow.
So as a company, you can set up.
You
Suppose
can set up
you
and
say
all.
I have 6 branch offices, 2 regional offices, 1 head
आज तो
office.
मैं IndiQube convert हो गई. But I have a question to both of you, and this is important question. You are in a space, and I don't want to mention brands. This space, in a sort of way, has been notorious for not. Now there's a company which has gone for IPO.
Yes.
It's a very heartening news for the space.
Yes.
But it has also come under a lot of scrutiny because there was a huge valuation, a global firm which did not do well. We work globally. And there were a lot of companies who came and shut down. But you've managed to actually create a differentiation and create a brand profitability. अगर आपको मतलब, of course you've given all the reasons, but very dispassionately you have to say that what are the 2-3 things that IndiQube के लिए चला कि ये IndiQube ने हिंदी में कहूँगी फोड़ा और अच्छा किया, बहुत अच्छा, वो क्या है?
So I think the first thing which we realized was that we required a 1.0 in India. Unfortunately, a lot of companies make the mistake of seeing that what is there in the Western world and try and copy paste exactly in India. If cash on delivery was required, I think Flipkart did that innovation and brought cash on delivery because card penetration was very low at that time. So we realized that this is a very big market. And this market had a lot of characteristics which were very unique to India. So India is a very, you can say very, I will say, segmented market. At every price point, there is a market over there. So one size doesn't fit all.
So that understanding you had.
That is one very significant thing that we were very clear. Second was, it's a pay-as-you-use model. You can't load a 5-star buffet and say, take it or leave it. Over there, that worked very well for us. Then the other thing we realized was that if we should be not getting into just very fancy swanky buildings all the time. We looked at a lot of older buildings which were grade A locations but grade B products. So our idea was, can we offer a grade A experience in a grade B product? So I think so that very heavily focused on functionality, did not got into a lot of jing bang or blinkers, that frills, so to say, very heavy. Like if you look at Indigo Airlines, like they always said timeliness.
Yes.
Right. That was, and it's a very simple thing when you are going from point A to B. The key thing is timeliness. So
Safety, timeliness.
Safety and timeliness.
Yeah.
And respect.
Yeah, cleanliness.
Point A to point B. I mean, on time, that is how it is.
So I think we were able to very clearly, and also we realized that the employee is the hero of the story. So anything that can improve the employee experience and make the employee productivity life better, I think corporates invariably will take that. So all our approach, like when we look at partnerships today, anybody wants to collaborate with us, we always, that's the litmus test, that will it improve my employee experience? If it will, we will go for that partnership. Whether we make money or not is secondary. We'll figure out a way to align that. But if it is not improving my employee experience, then it's a clear no. We also were never very basically excited about the so-called venture capital, the private equity capital. I always say that this is gold-plated money. And it should be consumed responsibly. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that raising money is an end in itself. So we were very clear on that we should not burn disproportionate amounts of money. So in that kind of a situation, it is very important that one has to grow in a step manner. You grow, then consolidate, grow and consolidate. And you look at those businesses traditionally, if you look at banks like HDFC or ICICI, all of them have done well because they have followed that model. They have not burned disproportionate amount of cash, conserved it and built great businesses. And today with social media and all, the moment you are down, everybody is waiting to pull you down if you have too much of basically fame or controversies and all that around you. So this is a business where I believe that it's very important for young age founders to stay away from the limelight, build the business quietly, and otherwise people are just waiting to say that, look, I said this, or pull you down. So just remain consistent, and it's a long haul. The best businesses are bought, they are never sold.
And to both of you, I want to ask is, what's the big vision? And of course, I alluded to the IPO, which is happening in your space. What's your big plan? Business-wise, vision-wise?
Shradha, the big plan is that we see that as we said in the beginning, the way the workspaces are being consumed is changing. And we see that every aspect of the workspace we should basically be impacting. And I don't see any reason that why we should not be the largest workspaces company in India. And if we are the largest in India, naturally we will be among the top 3 or 5 across the world and become a full services firm. There are so many things we are doing, and we believe a lot more to integrate all of that and ensure that we are highly sustainable. That's very, very important. We continue giving great experience to the companies and their employees, and keep on improving the ease of doing business for the people who trust on us.
And just to add to that, usually a lot of times the questions were asked that if it has not worked globally, the phenomena of this managed or co-working or a workspace partner, so who's your competition globally? And when you say there's no one, or you are the only one who's looking like that, so they don't, they just look at you like that. So I think just to defy those rules that, the company like that can come out from India, the company could be equally valuable and profitable and grow also. So, to defy those basic rules, and because when you go to these people, they said, if in globally nobody can do it, how do you think, why would you do it, right? I mean, that is the regular question a lot of people would say, because it's a templatized. So it's very tough for them to take this kind of a new age phenomena, So I just personally, I hope that it changes.
That's a very important point, and sorry, but I'm going to ask this very quick question. Is that because of what was happening to WeWork, did you also have to face a lot of questions and a lot of skepticism?
So I will say that, to be honest with you, we were lucky that the way the narrative got built, that like certain investors were throwing 10 times more money, and they were thinking that by throwing 10 times more money, they can destroy categories or own the categories. And I think that madness started in our space. Luckily, it did not reach any logical culmination. And as a result, you don't see today, our space will be one of the very few spaces where I can say with a lot of pride that all the companies, the big 5, none of them is a multinational. They are all homegrown businesses. I can't think of any other categories where 4 or 5 companies are thinking about doing IPO. Mostly it's between 1 or 2 players that whole thing has culminated in. I can't think of a category where still most of the competitors I have, the founders have more than 50% equity. Typically, most of the businesses have less than. So I think
and they're profitable.
They're profitable.
I don't know about others, but definitely
they are all on the. I will say they are all on the way, right?
They,
basically, so I think our category, if you see as a whole, has done so well. The amount of wealth we have created for Indians, all of them happen to be Indian companies.
I sometimes wonder, why doesn't categories like yours get as much of coverage and as much of conversation as consumer internet companies do?
Yeah, because they have this phenomena. It's a platform business. It should go viral. It should have a hockey stick growth. All those kind of things. If you ask me, so these are, I do not know. Like for example, WeWork also. I have a little contra view, and I'm sure a lot of people would not agree. But what my personal this thing is, Adam Newman actually did a fantastic job. He kind of created this category. Regions of the world was always there, but he kind of, the whole world kind of awakened that there's a concept like that. And even when I go like in SFO or anywhere, I have to tell them, okay, we are kind of WeWork. Like it is whether we like it or not like it, it's an Indian company, but sometimes to explain it to them, that is my starting line. So that category is created thanks to the investors, right? Because sometimes what happens, too much of money, too much of I think the growth, the kind of growth they want to do it, that spoiled the stuff more than the concept itself. The hockey stick, not more than the concept. The concept was fantastic. If you would have executed well, it would have done really wonders. I think it is the more money, less time, more growth, less time, all that kind of bundled up, and plus the governance issue for that matter. But conceptually, it's a great concept.
I will give a different perspective.
Yeah, so we have a different perspective.
I feel that the entrepreneurship story largely in our country has been hijacked by three things: the Western money, the English media, and the IIT phenomena. Right?
You are from IIT.
Right, yeah. So I think that's a tragedy that has happened. And I'm so happy that when our Prime Minister talks about Atmanirbhar Bharat, and what is happening on the stock exchange today, that most of the money that is coming, while the FIs are pulling out money from India, we have a lot of local investors coming in. So, and I always say that we will become Atmanirbhar the day India doesn't require FDI to grow, when we can grow with our own money. And I see that a lot of entrepreneurship story, the startup story, is now getting funded by the Indian entrepreneurs and the Indian money. And the more of that we get, we'll stop looking at templates which work in other parts of the world typically, and we will see more respect, more recognition for businesses coming out of India which are more connected to the Bharat happening over there. So I think that correction is clearly underway.
And look at my story also, and I keep saying I'm the minority of the minority. Smallest town, Alwar, nobody would have heard of. Female, eldest of the three daughters, like imagine that you're supposed to get married early, then no fancy degree, no IIT, no IIMs and all, right? Nothing like that, So all those stories, I'm not saying my story has to come out, but there are a lot of women's stories also has to come out.
No, but you are I have to say genuinely this, that you are actually very inspiring. I like you for, you speak your mind.
I completely
and you
agree.
are in a space where one has not seen, like I have not tracked many women. It's a tough space. All businesses are tough, but this is also not a software only business.
But it's actually for women, honestly, in fact, I was talking to you the other day, like when I was in SFO last month, there were like 70, 80 endowments, like $1 billion funds, right? And they said, did you notice you're the only woman founder? And I said, I'm glad you noticed. And okay, and it has nothing to do with the real estate, okay? So it's the woman, but I think one has to be clear what is, and I don't say degree or where you come from will define anything, like, and I've always maintained success has no gender. Right,
Yeah.
so it is agnostic gender.
Yeah, but these stories and your story has. See, your stories have to come out because it's just, who all will it inspire? Like some other girl in Alwar, right? Like if she listens to this, that you could get here. You don't have to have, be born in privilege. You don't have to go to fancy college and create a profitable business. To me, like I always say, you're not the victim of your story, you're the heroine. And to me, you are the heroine of your story. You are architecting your own journey. Yeah, and you're doing it. So that to me is phenomenal. And and that's why I think that whenever we talk about a woman's story or any story, we should also talk about men's story who also, are aware and are looking at an equal relationship.
Yes, I agree.
And an equal
And luckily
world.
that number is increasing.
Yes.
And when I deal with a lot of my friends and all, I see that, and people who generally I have seen who are willing to treat their spouse, especially a woman, as an asset rather than as a liability, they have done much better in their careers. Today, if you have to take any meaningful risk, your spouse has to be working. With one income houses, unless until you are in a very, very comfort job, it's very difficult to sustain in a place like Bangalore or Delhi. So two income families are a reality, and any growth is all linked to how the other spouse is doing in her professional career, life and all that.
And people like you and both of you also create that reference and role models, because that's also what we need.
Yes.
Because you grow
Yes.
up seeing what
I
is
so
around
right
you,
about
तो
it. Yeah.
reality आपका वही है. मेरा लगता है कहीं ये good woman और good girl का जो construct है कि वो money minded नहीं होती हैं, वो सेवा करती हैं, they are very
No,
giving.
but we are to be blamed for. I know, I mean, I was in fact hearing one lady, and she said, 80% of the news consumer is men around the world. So what is this? What are the ladies doing? What are they consuming if they're not consuming news? Right? It is, so they don't want to. So we're also that's it. No, we cannot always play the victim card. Especially us, right? I mean, when we have reached a status and position, we could talk about these which are underprivileged and all, but people like us, and there's 80%, all men. I mean, that's a startling data, right? We are all women here.
No,
we are not
watch
consuming.
News from today.
Yeah, no, but we are not consuming, right? So which itself says about it,
one
right?
more thing I will add.
No, but I get what you are saying, and what you are trying to say is with a lot of love. I know it's coming with a lot of heart, that for a woman who's hurting today, that don't hurt. You have to get up.
Yeah, you have to. And it is survival of the fittest. It has nothing to do with the gender. It is a jungle world. You have to get up. It is a more sophisticated jungle world, but that's about it. Please do not bring gender in between. There are a lot of ways you can get your work done. You just have to figure it out.
Thank you for calling it out and talking about it, because I'm sure this will inspire a lot of people to maybe not change but reflect.
Correct.
Yes.
Right. Now this, fantastic, and I thought this segment of the interview was so powerful and so inclusive, because this will bring so many people to the conversation. It will make people reflect, and thank you to both of you for being so honest, because I somehow feel, people say that in India we don't get very deep conversations and interviews. My answer is, why are founders not very transparent? Why don't they bear it and speak openly? And both of you have done that. Coming back, last I would say, you talked about IndiQube. Where do you see you built a profitable business and a brand, and an inclusive, sustainable, powerful brand? What's the purpose individually driving you?
I always believe that I'll do something really big, like from the beginning when I was growing up. I kind of knew that I have all the skill set and capacity and the capability XYZ to kind of be out there. But for certain circumstances, I couldn't. I mean, there were a lot of events which happened in my life also, and I couldn't, and I didn't have those opportunities. So when IndiQube came into the picture, I had to run a little bit faster, right? Because I have to make up for the lost time. So I had to run, because it's still not a 10-year-old company, and I'm talking about 100 crores PAT. So we have to run a little faster. So it was for my personal satisfaction and my own judgment of character, whether I was thinking it right, that I'm capable or not, right? So it's like a validation for myself, because I always thought that I'll do something really impactful, and that is the personal purpose which is still driving me, because you just want to defy the rules of the game, right? And a woman can't do it, or a small town girl cannot do it. You cannot make a profitable business. You are married, you cannot have a full life. Now what does mean a full life? Just a married woman having children means full life. I want to say no. I have friends who are single, who are not married, who have decided not to marry, but they're super happy. Don't they have a full life? So there are a lot of aspects to it, and that is the kind of
and
purpose.
In your story, you are actually making, I am telling you that you are creating so much of reference again for a lot of women.
So I see this, my journey, if I reflect upon and if I see in the future, I will see this more as a continuum. And I always give this example that my father comes from a place called Azamgarh in eastern UP. And he was born in a Zamindar family. And he used to tell me that now in 1952-53, when he was 6-year-old, he has seen my grandfather counting 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees a day. That's the amount of land revenue that used to come. And he would go to school on an elephant.
Your father?
Yes. And he said that I have seen the day when Zamindari got abolished, when we were not even having the chappals to go to school. So that kind of extreme he saw in his life. And then he went on, did his engineering from IIT, BHU, ensured that we had good education. Took early retirement, was with us for 15-20 years, helped me, Anshuman, Meghna, all of us build businesses, contributed extensively over there. And
so he lost everything, and then...
Yes, and you see when he passed away in 2021, I always say that my dad was born rich, he died rich, right? And he was born in British India. I would like to see my grandchildren born in developed India. I think that's so I see that somehow the challenge has been that we don't recognize that there are a lot of shareholders beyond the cap table. Right? Our families, our parents, spouses, so many people are there, so many well-wishers are there. So I think this is a continuum, and I wish that God grants me more power so that I am able to do better and more responsibly pass on the baton to my children, give them the right set of values where they continue it, this thing typically, and create a better world, better India, more confident India. That's how I see, that's a legacy I would like to leave.
Wow, it's so beautiful. You know, when you were saying this, I was reminded that Swami Vivekanand in the Karma Yoga, he says that for ultimate fulfillment and happiness in life, think of what, you know, make money, do very well, but think about more people. Yeah, you know, I was just discussing before this the hook of the story. I'm saying there are a lot of things hooking in this story, and I hope for everyone watching and listening to us, there is so much to take away from both of you. And I would say that a lot of people in India would join me in saying more power to you. Please go on creating more impact, because, you know, as you win, I think it's the India story which is winning. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks,
Thanks.
Shradha.
Thank you.
Yeah.